Hi, in this tutorial I'm going to show you how to create the general user interface for your game in Esenthel engine. This is a basics tutorial on how to use the GUI editor in the Esenthel editor, not necessarily any code. Those will come later. So I thought, well, I need to make a debugging interface for my game. So instead of showing you from scratch, I'm going to show you something while I do it for my game itself. So first things first, I've just created a folder for my GUI called debugging, because it's going to be the debugging GUI. And I'll go right click on that folder, go new, and I'll go GUI. And there I shall type in debug GUI, whatever. Now, usually when you come into this, these aren't snapped on. So one good thing to note is this button up here. It puts a grid that shows different screen ratios, and you can see the different aspects. The cyan is 1920 by 1080, and you can see all the others. It's very useful for trying to make sure it fits into all your target screens. Yes, so put that on. It's a good way to start. Now you'll see there's all sorts of different types of UI elements that you can place in. So you know what? Before I bore you with too much stuff, let's just go ahead and do it. So first of all, we need a window. Basically my idea is that the debug window will show up when I hit a button, and I'll be able to do debugging information. A lot of people like to do consoles and type in commands, but heck, I'm lazy, so I'm not going to do that. I'm going to make a full-on GUI for it. So you need this plus button to add any new objects. So I'm going to click on the plus button, got my window here, and I right-click anywhere on the screen where I want to place it. It's a bit weird. I prefer to just just click it and click enter or whatever, but who cares? I'm then going to scale it up. So this is the move button here. It's right-click to, it's left-click to select, and then right-click to move in the GUI editor. And scale, same thing. Right-clicks to do the action. So I'm going to say, let's say about that'll do it. Move it up. I want it to be in the right corner. I don't really want it to be in the middle. So that's my window. And you can see when it's selected, I've got a bunch of properties down on the right here. These are all sorts of things like the position. You can change that, but you can also just move it on the screen. The width, the height, that's just the scale. I'm going to name this. Now this is very important. If you want to access your GUI object inside the game, rather than it just drawing and not doing anything, you need to give it a name. And what I like to do is I like to prefix all my names with what type of object it is. So my type for window is WND underscore, and then I'll type debug window. That's good. WND underscore debug. And the description, don't really need it here. And the text, this will show up in the top bar, is debug window. You got some other things like movable, so if that's checked, you can move it in the game. If it's not, you can't. Resizable, I don't want mine resizable. Bar visible, I'll show you what that does. Takes away the top bar, which is sometimes desirable. You can change the bar height if you want. I'd rather have it about there. You can also drag and drop in a GUI style in here, and it'll change the look and feel. But I'm not going to get into that because that's for another later tutorial. So there we have our window, but now we need a bit more diversity. I'm not going to be able to fit everything on here. So let us first make it a little bit bigger, and then we'll add some tabs. Let's go tabs, click plus. Now, if I put the tabs down on top of the window, it'll automatically parent the tabs to the window. If I don't, it won't. So if I put it down here, bang, then now if I move the window, the tabs will go with it. And so yes, important. Now I'll move the tabs up into the corner here just because I want to, And one good thing to note is this, the number up here. It's the grid size. So basically it's the snapping increments. You'll notice that I'm not moving when I move the object, it's moving in little increments of 0.01. However, you can increase that to have the snapping size. So it's good to use that. You have to have this align objects to grid for that to work. But yes, use it indeed. And let's just bring that out here. And it's got its properties as well. I'm definitely going to need the properties of this one. So I'm going to give it name tab underscore debug options and valid if at least one tab must be selected. Yes, one tab must always be selected. It should be 0. Layout, you can have a vertical layout where the tabs are, that looks a bit funny, or horizontal or auto, which makes more sense. The spacing between the tabs, so you can actually have a spacing. Pretty simple stuff. What does that do? Auto size. That actually looks better. Now this is where you get to add your tabs. So I'm going to have a bunch of different tab names. So let's put in visual debugging. So that it's going to show my triggers and my physics and the path mesh, etc. I like to make this thing called a debugging graph. So, but that's not important exactly what that is right now. So graph debug. And you know what? Heck, I'll even make a console. I'll make that for later. I'm actually going to turn off auto size because it makes the size dependent on the text, and I don't want that. And you know what? I don't like how it says debug there, so I'm going to take that away. Anyway, now that I've got that going, I've got my tabs. They're all looking nice and fancy. I can add a new tab by pressing new tab, or I can get rid of a tab by pressing this R button. Now let's add some buttons and some objects. Now this can get a bit annoying because now instead of parenting a element to the window, I now have to parent it to a tab. And as you know, the only way to parent something to the window was to drag it on top of the window. So now I've got to drag stuff on top of the actual tab point. So let's grab some text and let's see how this goes. So first I've got to place it, right click on the tab. Oh, sorry. Okay, it looks like I can put it anywhere, but then I have to drag it on top of the tab. Hang on, what's going on here? Okay, sorry. I need this tool here. Move object and change its parent to object under mouse cursor. So I'll move and drag it onto that bad boy. Make sure you deselect it when you move it back, and now that should be parented to that. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. So there's some text. I'm just going to go physics debug, and I'm going to also add a checkbox for that. And I'll give it all its names. Now I'm going to go and fill this out. I'm not going to record it all because you've seen it all. Just hang tight. Actually, I just thought of one more thing I want to show you now. So I've got this text here. I don't want to have to keep doing this stuff, so I'm just going to show you the copy. So you go copy, you select your text, and then you click where you want it to go. And then I can just change the text. It saves me having to do a whole bunch of stuff. I'll copy this box as well, etc, etc. Okay, now I will be back. Okay, so I just finished putting together some things. Of course, I don't have too much to debug at the moment, so this will actually grow as I go. I'm not going to do those now, just to show you. In fact, this is more than enough to keep me occupied. And the only difference you'll see is I've named all these different names so that I can get them separately. And also these buttons I've added as well. Might be noteworthy that you can actually drag and drop an image. Oops. I'll just go find a random texture somewhere. Materials. Don't have many materials. Let's just drag this one into this close button to see what it does. It'll look ridiculous, but that's okay. And you can see it looks ridiculous like I thought. But anyway, if you get a proper texture that looks right, then you can chuck that in there. Now another thing that that you might want to learn is how to do different fonts and texts. Now you've also got this text style thing here, and I've got some text styles already made, but I think we'll make a new one just to show you. So to make a new font, you first have to go new font, funnily enough. Let's call it Calibri. Now you open it up and you go into the font editor. Now you get your system font, you get your fonts from the system fonts, and Esenthel will turn it into its own sort of thing. So just name it whatever. If it's installed in your system, then it'll be able to get it. I choose Calibri, and as you get it, you can play around with all these things. The size, so the lower that is, the more blurry it's going to be. So if you want to have a big tech font, you want to have higher size. You can do stuff with shadows, so diagonal shadow or directly behind shadow, blur the shadow, play with all this stuff. You know, just play with all this stuff and see how you go. It's fairly simple. Opacity, yada yada yada. Clear type, and I think the color one's not here. So once you've created a font, then you can then create a text style from that font. And we'll open up the text style, and we go to our drop down box, and I've already created Calibri by the way, but I just created it again for your sake. And we choose Calibri. Now the color is white and our background is white, so we don't want that. Let's make it black. You know, let's make it fluorescent purple. That'll be more fun. And play with all the different things we can play with. You know, where you align it. Generally, you'd probably want to keep that as 0.0. But and then there's of course the scale. You can change its size, its aspect, the spacing of the letters, etc. So you just play around with that, and then what you do is with this text style you can drag and drop that text style into there, and you can see it's gone all pink and colorful. Of course I don't want that, because this is just because that's a horrible thing, so I'm just going to delete these, but I just did to show you. And that is that for actually creating GUI objects in the GUI editor. You go and play around with these other ones. It's fairly self-explanatory. The second part of this tutorial, which will be a separate video, will explain how you can load these GUIs into your game, and then how you can access each individual piece and make it actually do something. That's it. If you liked the video, if you learned something, like it, YouTube, subscribe, whatever. I'll catch you later.